Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out RV Daydream, and I'm out in my natural environment. That's my garage. A little bit messy today, but I was doing a lot of work and I've got some more to do, so I didn't bother straightening up too much.
What have you been up to?
I've been riding on a daydream. I want to talk about generators. Now, I did a video about a small generator that we have, and I should say small. It's actually a pretty good size generator, but it's small as far as its output and what I thought about it, because we didn't pay very much for it and we've had it for many years, yet it still does a good job if we were to use it in a boondocking situation where we just needed electricity. And actually, Heidi and I discussed that. We should have loaded that in the truck when we went to our trip to Dale Hollow in Tennessee, which was overall pretty good success, even though the truck was giving me a couple of small fits. I think we got that straightened out though. And it would have been nice to have that generator while we went on that trip, just for the fact that it would have given us the ability to run a fan, because it was awful hot in the camper in a couple of our stops, at the Walmart, at the quarry site that we did that video that we were floating around in the water, and then of course on our way back when we stopped at the truck stop. It would have been nice to have the generator at that point too, and it's something that I'm working on. I'm trying to figure out how I can put a decent sized generator on our travel trailer that will allow us to run it while it's still mounted and I don't have to do anything. I could do it in the back of the truck and open up the windows in the truck, that kind of a thing, but I just rather not. I think that I have a good idea of what I want to do, but it's going to take a little bit of a project to get it done. But that brings me to a point that a lot of you might be at, and that is your generator and the size, the physical size, as far as how big it is, how heavy it is, and moving it around in space, and also the output size and how big you need. Now, everybody kind of knows that, for the most part, that a 13,500 BTU air conditioner that's on most of the travel trailers, although there's some that are 15,000 BTU, but a single air conditioner can be run with a good power inverter generator like a Honda 3000 IS, I believe the model is, or a Yamaha, which is a 3000, and I think it's an SEBI. Something to that effect. Sean and Christy from Long Long Honeymoon, they have one. And also more recently, How We Roll. He's got one. He just picked one up, which he hasn't done a video yet of an unboxing or what it looks like or anything, but he said that he picked one up. I'm kind of leaning towards the Yamaha, but man, those Hondas, there's so many service centers across America compared to the Yamaha service centers. So I'm thinking that I might be kind of gravitating towards the Honda. Plus the Honda's slightly quieter. And again, when you're paying that kind of money for a generator, I mean, you're wanting the best at that point. And of course, keeping it quiet is one of those requirements as RVers that we want, so we don't disturb our neighbors if we do run our generator whenever we're out. So let's not talk so much about brand, but let's talk about two smaller generators, smaller in size and output, versus one bigger generator. Now, in my case, I'm a small engine mechanic. I've been trained in small engine mechanics. Does that mean anything to anybody? Not really. I know guys that have had not an ounce of training, and they are very good mechanics, whether it be on engines or anything else, for that matter, as far as outdoor power equipment or on vehicles. And I was kind of in that boat for a long time. I could pretty much fix anything, but I needed certifications to receive raises and pay merit at my work. So I went ahead and loaded up on certifications just to get them, and it made me more aware of things that I might not have known, but still, being a good mechanic doesn't require any kind of certifications. But I do want to mention that I've had some training as far as engines go and what is required to keep those engines top notch. Now, I'm going to tell you firsthand that most likely what we're going to do is go with one bigger generator. Unless I get an outstanding deal on a couple smaller ones, I'm definitely going to go bigger. And when I say generator, I'm just going to refer to it as a generator to make it easier for everybody to understand. But what I'm talking about is generator inverter. It's all in one. The powers are much cleaner that comes out of those, and I think that it's probably the best thing to run. Now, I want to make a full disclosure here. This isn't the answer for you. The answer that you get for yourself is the one that you come up with. I am telling you what works for me. I'm going to have to do a whole video series on perceptions of reality. And these are my perceptions of reality as far as it concerns me and how it pertains to me and Heidi and our camper, our RV, and our situation. Whatever works for you is great. So don't get upset. Don't get irate. Don't come up with that guy don't know what he's talking about. Because I do know what I'm talking about, because I'm talking about me. And no one knows me except me. And what I want and what I think is best for me. So with that said, let's get into why I think this would work best for me. A single big generator, a bigger one, like the 3000 models. And the only reason I say that is because the two smaller ones, although there's great reason to have two smaller ones, there's some downfalls that I just don't want to deal with. The first thing is 2 generators, 2 engines, 2 tanks of gas, twice the cables, twice the carrying. Meaning that every time I want to unload the 2 generators or move the 2 generators, I have to move 2 generators, not just one. I have 2 tanks of gas. I have 2 oil changes. I have 2 spark plugs. I have 2 air filters. All those things have to be maintained, and all those things require 2. Where a bigger one, I have 1 engine, 1 oil change, 1 air filter, 1 spark plug, and 1 tank of gas that I have to be concerned with. Now the smaller ones, the nice thing about those are you can move them around. You can, when you load it up, you're not loading up something big, you're loading up 2 small things, so they can go in nose to nose or side to side or even on top of each other if they had to. So the smaller ones are appealing as far as that goes. But even though those 2 smaller ones are easier to move around, they're also easier to carry away. So as far as theft, if you're out in the middle of nowhere and you've got your air conditioner running and you're sleeping really well and you think you hear something outside and then all of a sudden your power cuts out and then you hear an ATV hauling ass and you look outside the window just quick enough to see your generator on the back of a Honda 4Runner cutting across the desert. Bye-bye, generator. Now that could happen with the big ones too, but what I'm saying is those little ones make it a lot easier to yank and take if people wanted it. They could just walk by and pick it up and carry it off like a suitcase. Now they make cable systems and stuff that lock them up, which I would think that would be a good idea to have. The bigger one can have a cable system on it also, and if you cut the cable on that, it's still a pretty big generator to move around. So let me talk about the downfalls of the big generator. It's heavier, and you got to find a place for it. And the other thing you can't do with the big generator is maybe you don't need all the voltage the big generator offers. Now the nice thing about the Hondas and the Yamahas, and some others, is they have an eco mode. And what that does is if it doesn't need all the energy the thing produces at full RPM, it cuts the RPMs down and it runs at a nice low idle speed, or a speed that is going to be in direct proportion with the demands that the travel trailer or camper is asking for. A lot of people say, well, if I only need to run a few things inside my travel trailer, I can just run 1 generator. I don't need to run both. That's true. You don't, and you only have to move that 1 generator out and wherever to run it and plug it in. But again, with the bigger ones having that technology to cut the RPMs down, to me that kind of negates that special ability that those 2 have. The bigger one by far is size. That's definitely the con. It's really hard to find a place that you can put that permanently and make it to where it's not in the way without major modification. I mean, if I got 2 smaller generators, I could make some sort of bracket and put it above my battery box. Actually, one would probably fit in the other slot for the battery, and I would be fine. But it's not what I want. I would like to have that larger one, again, for the reasons that I mentioned earlier. Now, a lot of you may not be sold on generators, and I'm going to say something that probably a lot of you don't want to hear, and that is solar is a pain in the butt. Solar is the most brilliant way to get energy for free. Solar is awesome. Solar is the way of the future. The problem is battery technology and the cost. You have to keep up with the batteries. If they made a battery tomorrow and they said this battery lasts 15 years and it costs $85 and you won't have to buy another battery, I think that I would look into solar. Even though the solar panels and the installation and all that stuff is crazy expensive for the most part. And I know a lot of you are saying, well, it's no more expensive than a generator. Well, the problem with that is the batteries are always disposable. Of course, the generator's always using gasoline, so you're always putting gas in it, and you're always changing the oil, and there is wear, and eventually the engine will wear out. However, it's just technology. It's been around a long time. I mean, this argument could go in the same direction with electric car versus gas engine. There's a reason why almost all the cars in the U.S. are still gas engine cars, because the electric hasn't got to that point yet. Well, solar and generators are basically the same argument. Even though solar can be utilized and be an efficient way to gather power, it's just not widely enough used as gasoline generators have been for many years. So the cost of the generators, although it seems expensive, overall it's really easy because your travel trailer is already set up for the generator. All you have to do is make sure that you have the correct 30 amp dog bone converter to plug into the generator, and that's it. You're done. You plug in your camper, you fire up the generator, you make sure it has gas in it, and you make sure the oil is changed. That's all. That's all you have to worry about. With solar, it's cleaning the solar panels up top. It's always making sure that they are up and at the right angle, which I am surprised and shocked that if I was into solar, like a lot of other people are into solar, that nobody has a button push solar panel lift mechanism. They're so simple. They're like $20 to build. I mean, I was actually considering building one just to see what it would be like. It's not that hard to do. It's just a matter of putting a screw drive that runs off a 12 volt, which your camper's filled with anyways, to make that panel lift up and down so you can gather the most amount of sun. Instead, I see all these people climbing up on top of their $50,000, $70,000 rigs to lift their solar panels manually and go ahead and put screws in to hold them in place and stuff. Forget it. I mean, the technology's out there. Go ahead and build something that will allow it not only to lift, but to track the sun. Those things can be done. They make them now for ground-mounted solar panels, so I don't know why they don't make them for some sort of a solar array that goes on an RV. But I get off topic. I'm sorry. As far as the generators go, they're quick, easy. Everybody can understand them. They're an engine. Most people have engines in their vehicles, so you're done. You just plug it in and you're finished. So basically, in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is, in my case, I want to go with a bigger generator, like a 3,000 watt generator, which of course that's not running watts, that's a peak watt generator. I'm going to stay with a Honda or Yamaha. I'm not sure which one. And also I want to find a way to mount it on my travel trailer. I still am not sure 100% how to do it. I've been thinking about it and talking it over with Heidi. I could make it a major project or I can make it a really simple project. It's hard telling what I might have time for over the winter. These are my thoughts on the generators. I wanted to throw that out to you. So think about it. Think about, are you able to lift a 160, 170 pound generator, which I don't know if they're that heavy. They might be around 140 pounds. But are you able to lift that in and out of your vehicles? If so, maybe you want to go with the bigger one. Believe it or not, the bigger one, because of its size, they were able to put better sound deadening on the Honda, on the bigger one, than they did the little ones. So the little ones, although they are very quiet, the bigger one is a little bit more quiet. It's one of the quietest generators, if not the quietest generator you can buy. So something to think about there. So bigger generator instead of the two smaller ones. The two smaller ones, they're still a little heavy, but if you can manage, about 48 pounds, you're okay. You can move those around. They make two 2,000 watt running watt generators, or they make even 1,000 watt, which the 1,000 watt probably won't run very much. But again, whenever you need an electricity, if you're out boondocking, it'd be nice to have. So that's it, guys. I'm going to close off this topic. If you have any thoughts on this, put them down in the comments below. Again, this isn't meant to be argumentative. This is just my thoughts on what works for me. and what I think about before I made that decision. So in the future, you should see that. Hopefully, on down the road, I will be doing a video of it, of course, and what I came up with as far as the installation. And as always, guys, I hope to see you out there. Bye.